Thank you to our 4 sponsors for supporting our podcast: Johnny Russell's Art Caterers and Milltown Pies, Alexander Grace Law, Jez and Lisa's Spoonful of Sweets, and SPE Furnishings. Links to their websites are available in the show notes and on our website. Don't forget to subscribe to get all the latest episodes as soon as they're released.
Just on Blesser's innings,
yeah,
it doesn't like. I spoke to him about it today, and he doesn't like me talking about it. But it's amazing how many players from opposition sides after the game come and say to us, "It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's really unfair that everybody else scrapes around for 20 overs to try and get 30 runs, and Bless comes in and just times everything as soon as he comes in." Because I mean, it were massive, that six.
Yeah.
I was walking along the bottom boundary. It went miles.
Yeah.
It was a full flourish of the bat, weren't it? It wasn't a chip. It was a proper
put everything into it.
Full wind up.
Yeah, and he was unlucky with his dismissal.
I think it probably helped. Yeah,
it was.
I mean, I think it probably helped there because of Bled's. You know, he's so free hitting, but that one he proper swung and he put his backside into that one as well. So I think that gave it an extra 50 metres. So then move on. A great victory. You know, we're on a bit of a roll there now, and you know the league, as we keep saying, this is not going to be won. I don't feel by someone only losing one game or two games, the actual league, or to get in that top 3 or 4. People can beat anyone, so it's important that we win, you know, as many games as possible after those first couple of defeats. So that's, you know, it's a great victory that we've got. So then we move on. We're getting ready for our second T20 game, Accrington at home. The players all up for that before disaster struck. How was it feeling then, Joe Martin, about the build up to that in training on the Tuesday?
I
know you don't like it, so you were probably sulking and sat in your room, not wanting to think about it. But...
To be honest with you, on the Tuesday, I was coaching the APP, so I didn't really discuss much about it. I reckon I didn't find out about until Thursday that there was an issue.
Right. So that brings us on the starts midweek. The starts this, you know, this rumours really, for want of a better word, that the potential issue with some of the Accrington players or staff at Accrington that have got COVID. Dean, I believe you found out about this quite early on. Just tell us what happened from your side, or from what you heard and what you passed on.
Yeah. So I spoke to Ben on Tuesday and just said that a friend of mine, Accrington played Rottenstall last weekend, and a friend of mine called me, and we usually speak to each other on a Monday after the weekend anyway. And he just said that a player at Accrington had been maybe not had really obvious symptoms, but it would appear as though he maybe had what he was describing as bronchitis. And so in the end, he I don't know if he did test positive or didn't, but Accrington's pro has ended up testing positive, I believe, over the weekend. I think on the Sunday. Then Rottenstall's pro lives with Accrington's pro. I think I know he lives with Bakeup's pro. So I believe all 3 of those have been in isolation this week. And yeah, you know, very unfortunate. And I wouldn't like to say whether or not it could have been avoided, but yeah, very, very unfortunate, and unfortunate for those clubs as well to have lost, you know, all 3 of their pros, or 2 of them that have still played this weekend, and they've got to go and get a sub pro and pay for hotels for isolation for pros. And
so that I think that broke, you know, I think it came out with the league exec discussing it on the Thursday, and you're perfectly right when you say it's really unfortunate. And the times we live in, if there is an issue around people testing positive for COVID, no one's going to take the risk of saying, we'll manage this game, and hopefully no one else is going to pass it on, or anyone's got this, you know, they're carrying the COVID, but they don't realise, or they've not shown any symptoms. So I don't think there was any other decision to be made. Dooch, what was your on you're in the know at our club and liaising with skippers, etc. What was your take on that at the time when it was coming out that potentially the game were going to be called off?
Well, like you, the minute that I heard that they had 4 or however many was positive tests, I knew the chance of the game going ahead were next to nil. So whilst we waited for the league to confirm that the game wasn't going to go ahead, we tried to get some other opposition because obviously, we've got a competition, a T20 competition to play, but we also have the other side of it, which is the commercial side and the revenue associated with the T20 game. And we think that our fans will come and watch us play T20 if we were playing against a dog and duck in a friendly. So whilst we waited for the league to clarify that they were going to call the game off, we tried a couple of other options. Padiham didn't have a T20 fixture, so we contacted them. They couldn't raise a side. Understandably, it was Wednesday night at this stage when we were scratching around for a game on Friday. Earby, they'd had their T20 game cancelled, but they were playing Saturday and Sunday at the weekend. So understandably, again, they didn't want to play. So we were struggling really. We were trying to get something, but we couldn't do it. So
Joe, just clarify there, Joe. At what point did we find out? Were this still through Dean's contacts or whatever? We found out there were.
Yeah. So we found out on.
Was it directly from Accrington, if you know what I mean?
We found out through Dean's contacts on Wednesday. Stan phoned his contact at Accrington on Wednesday, and they confirmed that the rumours were indeed true.
Okay. Did they also say at what point they were intending to notify us?
I think they weren't going to bother, guys. I think they were just not going to turn up for the game. No, I don't know. I don't know what their intentions were. Maybe they were still trying to get a side together at that stage. But who knows?
Fair enough.
We'd have to get Jimmy Ayerst on this podcast. He'd have to tell us.
That's another Jez's no.
Yeah, no.
We're not having any other players on. But Gary, I know exactly what you're saying and where you're coming from. And in the defence of such difficult times at the moment, and if people are working or they're all getting stressed, because I know our MD were going off his head, and it was as Dooch has alluded to, we're losing $4,000 and we've got this on and we've got that on, so it's frustrating all round. But I think it's safe to say, and I don't know if you're fully aware of this, Joe Martin, or who knows the proper story, that initially, Gary, that it was going to be 1 point each because it's not been played again, 1 point each, and then you just move on from that. So that obviously stoked Matt Stanny's fire again, because have we only lost 2, 3, 4 grand on the bar and the takings on the night of the game against Accrington, but it's severely dented our chances of getting through or progressing within the competition. So he's going off like a bottle of pop. But I believe that's been rectified now and that we are going to play this game. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We're playing on the Thursday before the Colne T20 game.
On the Friday.
Right.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Colne game's on Friday. We play Accrington Thursday.
Is that all right with you, Joe? 2 days rushing around?
I'm going to book 2 days off and I'm going to stay over at Colne.
That'll stop it.
I'm going to stay at the Red Lion in Colne.
It's a home game. Why are you staying in Colne?
Is it? Yeah. Oh, well, that's all right. Then I work from here, so I'll be here on bang on time. I'll be all right.
Maybe you could do a Stuart Gaynor and go away to Colne and you stood me at Todd.
Yeah, just a single though, Jez.
Yeah, just a single one way and try and get a lift back.
But that's good from the exec, Jez, right? The fact that they've sort of looked at all the possible issues that have come with it.
Yeah.
Rather than nobody being happy with what's happened, at least people get a game of cricket, people come to the cricket club, and you'd prefer to lose. You'd prefer to lose the game, or you prefer not to go through by losing a game than due to some kind of COVID.
Yeah, it's the integrity of the competition, isn't it? I think that's if everybody else is getting to play on a baking hot night and you don't get to play, then you should get that.
And it might rain. You don't know, do you? That's positive.
No, but
that'd be funny, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's just nice that things have managed to be looked at retrospectively, isn't it? Whereas sometimes you feel like it's a little bit inflexible, and it's nice for something to be looked at in hindsight and say, okay, this this maybe was the wrong decision, so let's do this instead.
Yeah, hopefully it sets a bit of a precedent, actually. To have a look and say...
Definitely.
Because the decision at the start of the year, I can remember the message coming through when all the rules were... And it was just something you sort of read over, because you just thought, all right, fair enough, if the game gets cancelled.
As you alluded to at the start, though, Joe, the T20 almost isn't for the players in this set. It's for the fans. It's for the clubs to make some good money, and to not have the will to want to get that game on whatever somehow, even at a later date. Then I think don't look great, does it? So I think the fact that they've said replay it, crack on, get it sorted, it's good all round.
One of the I think with the 2020 on a Friday night, you could actually extend it for however long you want. You could extend it for the full season if you want to. Just play the finals day on a Saturday, because you don't play on a Friday. I think a league game's slightly different, but you can't rearrange. So I think if a club can't play, well, that said, actually, they have rearranged these COVID games, haven't they? I think Accrington's game against Nelson's been rearranged. So
but then a third team game suffers as a result, doesn't it? And that's not quite fair either.
Yeah.
No, so someone's always going to miss out.
Yeah.
Is the conclusion we've
got to. And I think that as long as there's fairness been seen to be had, and Dooch has used, the integrity of it, because we're not suggesting that this has happened or it will happen in the future, but it's quite a cause a little excuse if people wanted to drop it in, whether it's for T20 or a league game. We've got these issues with people testing positive within our club. We can't travel. We clearly don't want that to happen, and I'm not suggesting it has or it will do. But I think the way the Exec have handled this has been commendable, and we can put that on record.
Yeah, save a few quid not having a pro or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done.
Very cynical people on this call. Very cynical people.
Well done, Duncan.
Well done, Duncan. Right, let's move on to Colne. Last Saturday, Colne, it's at our place. It's clear, I think, we're aware a day or so before that Colne are struggling to get a professional for the actual game, and for the people who are listening who know all about the Lancashire League rules, historically, etc., there used to be fines for not playing with a pro, and sometimes ridiculous players would have played on a particular game as a professional to save any fines. Thankfully, that's been readdressed, and if it's for the right reasons, and no one's taking the game into disrepute or anything around it and taking the mickey, there is no fines now if they can't get a pro. Dean or Joe Martin, whoever, or Joe Beneducci, I'm not sure. What's happened with Colne's pro? Am I right thinking he got injured early on in the season or before the season started?
No, so he never actually got here. I believe they may have signed a Pakistani at first, and then they signed an Indian guy, and he hasn't been able to come either. Whether that was to do with
red list.
Yeah, whether that was to do with the COVID situation in India, I assume.
Right.
So he hasn't come, and if you look on, I'm going to show how much of a shadow I am here. But if you look at the latest professionals thing on the league website, it actually says that there is no date for him arriving. So I'm not actually sure whether they're going to go through the rest of the year with sub pros, maybe.
Right. That's that. Bless them, especially as much as work as Gary Hunt does in finding professionals. That's going to be a long old season, isn't it? If that's what they're going to do, it's bad.
Matt spoke to him on because we played at seconds and Gary played for Colne seconds on Saturday. Right, yeah. So we were having a chat to him about the pro situation, and he was just saying they're getting to that stage now where they're going to have to make a decision whether they look at the league table and decide we'll save the money for the following year or that kind of approach.
Yeah. Big call out though, isn't it? Because you only need two or three. I mean, I don't know what their amateurs are like. And, we went through season after season finishing in the bottom half, if not the bottom one. But if you're going to lose players and not play and get absolutely hammered, it's a big call. But let's hope things turn out okay for them, and that, and that they do keep hold of players and the season goes okay for them. So we won the toss, decided to bat. Again, I went to that game. The pitch wasn't, it wasn't a straw-coloured, fantastically looking batting track. I didn't actually look at it, but it looked to play quite well. What was your outlook of it, Dean, when you first saw it? What was it like?
It was very hard. It was very, very firm. So, and he'd left a bit more a little bit more grass on it than maybe
Yeah.
he usually would. But it wasn't long by any stretch, and it looked like you say it wasn't strawy batter's paradise, but it felt firm and it looked good and it played pretty well. Yeah,
it certainly come on. I don't know if you won't know about this, Gary. It was probably as low as you could get down towards Lowerhouse Lane.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of them where I drove on. I thought, I'm not sure where I should put my car here because it's properly it's in the firing line down here, and it was a tickle down to third man, and no one was going to stop it.
Not a single six hit though in the entire game, Jez.
Oh no, there wasn't. No, that is strange,
isn't it?
Because I batted
it is. Yeah, you did. Yeah, but you hit 1-4. But then Ben and John, it was strange really because Ben and Johnny opened the batting. They both looked relatively comfortable in playing the ball. There was nothing shooting along the ground or popping up. And as you said, Dean, Stan purposely left a little bit of grass on, because as we all know, once it dries out at Lowerhouse and it gets too dry, it's like batting on a sandpit and it will just not come through and it goes lower and lower and lower. So that's why more grass needs to be kept on. But then it was clear that Ben and Johnny were struggling then to get it away as such. They were looking comfortable, but struggling to get it away. And, both got out relatively cheap for them. And then Stephen Parry's gone in. And I must say, he looked just so comfortable. He looked absolutely, this is my day today. And I can play it where I want. I can work it around. He's a strange batting style, but he just didn't look in any trouble at all. Was that safe to say that's the vibes you got in the dressing room, you two?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny with Paz really because he just, like you say, it doesn't necessarily, and far be it from me to comment on someone else's technique, but it doesn't always look technically beautiful, but he absolutely times the pants off everything.
Yeah. And I do get the impression he's a little bit, I'm not saying for 1 second he's in Martin van Jaarsveld's class, but he knows where fielders are. And he will look to move it either side of the fielders, in a strange little way that he does. I just got it when he got to 40 odd, and I thought there's a big 100 on here for him. If he just bats properly. And it's fair to say at this stage, Gary, you could see Colne just didn't want to be there. Yeah. With only 20 overs gone, they were fed up. There's no pro. They were all trying the nuts off, but it's a case of, this is going to be a long, long day. But I just felt, I don't know if it was, what you think, Joe Martin, that he looked like he'd almost start to treat the game and Colne with some disrespect, and I could smash these all over the place and could get out. Did you get that vibe, Joe Martin, at all?
I wasn't really paying attention.
The game or the question?
the game I was walking around. I don't know. I'm not sure I hold the same view on that. I think one of the things, what it could come across as potentially is, one of the things that I really like about him is the intent that he has. So he's always looking to score. Yeah. He's never looking to just survive.
Yeah.
Because that's not how he plays. No. And I think he can be a bit dismissive of the bowling, but lots of batters can. Francois can, and Johnny can, and Ben can.
Yeah.
So
and he proved, my point is, Joe, that he proved me wrong. He didn't get out when I thought he was going to get out. I thought he's got 40, 58, and he's going to go mental. He's going to try and knock, Thornhill Street down, but he didn't. He carried on. And that's why it was such a shock when he actually got out. And he was on, if he'd have carried on batting the way he would have easily got 130.
I think there was 14 overs left.
Yeah.
He batted very well.
And when Charlie came in with him, Charlie looked in such good nick. He's working it around and batting really well. And then once again, Paddy comes in and plays so. He's such a correct player. He knows his own game, exactly what he's going to do and where he can place shots. But something's happened, Joe. What over the last, certainly this season, there's something changed with Paddy. Do you know if that's a conscious thing he's done, or is it something he's worked on, or?
I think
you're not really sure, and you weren't watching.
I think from last year when we played during the 2020 season. It was a little bit. There was less fear of getting out.
Yeah.
I think he hates getting out with passion, but I think you sort of reason that with how that affects the team. So I think he's just got a bit more of or he's trying to certainly have a bit more of a positive mindset on it. I think he gets frustrated, and the Stumps have witnessed that sometimes, circa Todmorden 2014. But I think he's really coming into his own, and he's becoming a really dynamic, positive player. That if you send him in at 5 or 6, it might take him a little bit to get going, but he will score quickly towards the back end, and he hits the gaps really well. Yeah,
he does early on, Joe. That's what's the difference with him. He would have, and I've chatted to Paddy about this. He would have this, maybe a lunge, and he can't score a run with the way he's put the line he's gone down, and that's just for the first 2 or 3 overs. So but he's not doing that now. He's working it. He'll work it to third man, or he'll push it in a gap, and he's ready to run. So that's going to benefit us massively. It really is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Blaise gets out second ball, which was a bit of a shock to us all. And then you went in, Dean. How did you feel it was going? How was the track playing then?
Yeah, still playing all right. It came through fine. It was turning a little bit, but not sharp turn by any stretch. Yeah. So it had a bit in, like we say, it wasn't a batting paradise. It had a little bit in it if you could use it. Yeah. And we saw that later with Paz. But it still played very well, and Paddy played just ridiculously well. I think he worked out very quickly where his gaps were, and just to sort of touch on him a little bit. If you come and watch Paddy bat on a Thursday night in the nets, you'd be shocked that he doesn't play a higher level of cricket. The balance that he has and how naturally he strikes a ball is ridiculous. And I think it's just a bit of self-belief with him. He started to do it a bit. Like Joe said, I think he scored 300 runs last year in that truncated season off in not so many games. And I think it's just a bit of self-belief for him. He knows he can hit the ball now, and he looks brilliant.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, no, you're probably right. And like I said, we're only going to benefit from that. It's it is good to see, and it's good that hopefully Francois can get himself fit, and once Finchy comes back from that tour, if we've got those 14 players there, we should have a fantastic run towards the end of the season. So then Tom's gone in, and he's got out quite unfortunately, and then Joe Martin, 400 runs per 100 balls.
What can I say?
What a strike rate!
Story of my career, that, Jez.
Yeah, what a strike rate! I'm sure they're the ones that demoralised them.
Well, I don't know. I think we talked about this, Jez, early on when I was walking around, and I saw you in Stan's shed. How it's a bit. It must be really hard playing without a pro.
Yeah.
Against teams that have a pro. I don't know how. I don't know how East Lancs are managing to do it, because I'd say, I don't know if Dean agrees with me, but I'd say Paz is quite inspirational.
Yeah, I mean,
he's very enthusiastic and passionate, and
he is.
He's got a real will to win.
He's been a breath of fresh air, hasn't he? Really, like the energy that he brings, and just the other thing as well is that Paz is completely the opposite to some of the other bigger personalities in our changing room. So he's such a relaxed, laid-back character in general, and it comes from a confidence. I would imagine a confidence of playing 20 years county cricket, and he just knows his own game, and he knows the way to win. And it's been a breath of fresh air having him.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, that's so, and we all, for the listeners, we are looking at getting him on. We're going to wait for the time's right and to get him on and talk through some of the things that we've chatted through here. But it's so refreshing to hear that. We can laugh and joke in a few weeks or whatever, and maybe get the MD on. Yeah, it's great to hear that, Dean, that he's so influential and with such and doing so well. He's an England international, because it's interesting, and we can get the MD on, and he can tell us the stories about some of our spectators saying, when they found out we'd signed an English pro, that they never work. Players from Lancashire that have played in the league previously, they only come over for a bit of a jolly and a few quid, and they never perform. So
who said that, Jez?
I'm not going to say it on here, I'm afraid, but I'll let MD tell you.
Okay.
I think one of the other things is he fits in so well as well, Jez, just as a bloke.
Yeah.
He's we can be we're quite an eclectic group, as you could probably tell.
Yeah.
And you know, to sort of walk into our dressing room and immediately get just the awful banter that sometimes flies around is we've been quite privileged with him, really, where he just gets it from the beginning.
It is so, and he does seem to. He looks to be enjoying it. He looks to be getting on with everyone that's there, and his bowling clearly is another class, and he's also, you know, he's working. You know, he's getting sorted out with the batting and working all that out. So that's fantastic. I think half time came and went. You know, with all respect, he just wasn't going to be a game. They were down in the dust, and without a professional. You know, the 79 all out, great bowling performance. Again, I think Tom bowled well for his 6 overs there early on. It's good experience for him, get overs in his belt. How did you think about that, Dean? Was it coming out all right for him and bowling well with Joe?
I think he actually, in fact, I think bowling with Joe probably did him a favour because, you know, bowling with another seamer that he can sort of not try and emulate, but, you know, at least try and be there, you know, be there with and bounce off. And I think he bowled even better this week than he did last week at Clitheroe, actually. Yeah,
that's good. Is there some pace about it, Joe Martin? Is he going to gather more pace, you think? Because he's not going to get much bigger, I don't think. But
I'm not sure. He's only 15. So
yeah, he must get bigger.
I think he'll get bigger. I certainly had a growth spurt after 15.
Which direction?
So yeah, I think he will. I think there's probably, I mean, Les still works on his technique now, so I imagine there's a few technical things he'll want to work on as he gets older to probably increase his pace or but he's going to bowl with a lot of control and he can bat and he can field, so I think he's a really good asset, and all these youngsters that are playing in the team in the 2020 and getting first team games, it's when chances haven't been all that forthcoming for the past 10 years. It's really good for them to get some kind of
it does them a world of good
experience. And we must mention as well Hawkey's 250th Lowerhouse wicket as well, which is a fantastic achievement.
And he ended up 4 overs 11 for 3. And the pro 8 overs 13 for 6. So I mean, it was a comprehensive win, wasn't it? You know, the 2 players got double figures, so it was a fantastic win. Dooch, what was your outlook on that game? Is there anything we missed? Anything that?
No, I don't think so. It's obviously great to see Paddy getting his best ever score. But just going back to what you said earlier about playing without a professional mentally, I don't know how you, particularly coming to a place like Lowerhouse and not being big-headed about us, but you know, we are a good side. We are one of the strongest sides in the league. Colne, unfortunately, down the bottom, and they have to come to our place on a sunny day without a pro, lose the toss. It's the side that's won 5 on the rip, whatever it is. Must be difficult.
It can't be easy at all. No, it can't be. Right. So before we mop up, Gary, anything you want to add, or anything you want to bring up, or any little stories or jokes you want to tell us before we finalise this one?
Well, the one thing that other bit of news that happened last weekend was that we lost one of our league records, didn't we? The highest any wicket partnership, and so that Finchy and Rhino held for a few years was sort of demolished. Unfortunate. Well, let's not take anything away from the 2 batters because you're still to score the runs, but in context, they were playing a no pro side in East Lancs, and they smashed the record beyond, you know, not just like crept over with 270 odd Finches and Ryans. So I contacted Mr. Finch for a quote for the Housecast. He claimed not to have known or seen it. So I sort of, you know, offered him a little wager if he ever got it back. Obviously, as part of whatever other partnership he was in, then I'd buy him drinks for the season. So there's a little wager.
Right, let's see.
He's safe, Gaz, I think.
Well, Billy, not silly, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, just for context, like you say, they were playing against all amateur lineup in East Lancs, and Finchy and Ryan's partnership, I think from memory, was against Shane Harwood, who was one of the fastest, angriest Australian professionals around at the time.
So unfortunately, it won't say that, will it?
No, but I do think it needs qualifying.
Yeah, well, it does, absolutely. You're bang on.
Yeah, without that. 320 hours, I think, was 2.7 odd between Finchy and Ryan, and they got 320. So, no, good on them. Thanks for bringing that up, guys. We need to keep remembering these milestones that come along. And, fair to Finchy, I think we discussed it at the last one, 400 wickets he's got now, and he got this season. So, that's a fantastic achievement from him. So, Dean, I hope you've enjoyed your first Housecast and how it's all gone. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, just thanks for having me, Jez. It's been enjoyable.
No, good. It's great to have you on, and we'll see you in the future. If you get yourself a 50 and get a win game, you get you back on, and we'll talk about that as well. So good lad. Thanks for coming on, Dean. Joe Martin, you always come up. He's just putting his fingerless gloves on. Is Joe? I know you can't see it, but I'll describe it. He's got a daft hat on with his sunglasses, a gilet, and fingerless gloves. I'm not sure what he's going to be doing in that room on his own.
Looks like Mark from Home Alone.
Yeah, and he's constantly putting some lubricant on his hands.
It's hand sanitizer.
Sorry, I wasn't sure it was. Anything you want to bring up, Joe? Anything you want to just quickly discuss before we?
I don't think so. I think we've discussed everything that was possible, but hopefully we can keep this run going. We've got a big weekend coming up. Big 2020 game against Darwin, and then 2 games at Crompton in the league and the Worsley Cup. We've managed to get the point deficit between us and Super League to 14 points now. So a couple of wins between us. So hopefully we can keep creeping up and see where we get.
Exactly. You could just, you lads, carry on playing the way you are, carry on being as positive and enjoying your cricket, and the points will come, and hopefully we can get up that table. So, right, thanks very much, you four. Thanks for the contributions, and let's hope that people enjoy it and they can reflect on the last 2 or 3 games, and we'll do it again in a fortnight and talk our way through it. So thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget, subscribe. You can get the episodes a little bit earlier if you subscribe. And we always put a jingle on around our sponsors who help us produce this podcast. So thanks very much, everyone, for listening, and good night.
Order! Send more house to save the house!